Hi dear students, today I am going to discuss about one question paper problem now for transportation model, which is a 5 marks questions in a 2016 question paper. So let's see the problem. Solve the following transportation problem using northwest corner rule method. There are mainly three methods in transportation model in order to calculate the total transportation cost. One is northwest corner rule method, least cost method, and Ogle's approximation method. Okay, so this method tells us about where to start allotment, from which cell to start the allotment of demand and supply. Okay, in transportation model, before going to start, we should know the types of transportation model. There are mainly two types. One is balanced transportation problem and unbalanced transportation problem. Balanced transportation problem is where the demand are equal to supply. If the demand are equal to supply, then it is balanced one. If the demand are not equal to supply, then the type of problem we called it as unbalanced transportation problem. At that situation, we should add dummy rows and dummy columns. So here the total of supply is 85, the total of demand is 85. So it is the balanced transportation problem. So in the northwest corner rule method, we should start allotment from our left side top cell. Okay, so here east, west, north, south. Northwest means which is in our left top, which is our top left side. Okay, so before going to allocate, we should analyze the demand value and the supply value. So here, while allocating here, we should allocate the minimum value. If the demand value is low when compared to the supply value, we should allocate the demand value here. If the supply value is low, we should allocate supply value is to the supply value to the cell. Okay, so the least values are allocated to each cell when by comparing demand and supply. So we should start from our left top side. So we should analyze the demand value and the supply value. So here the supply value is 15 and the demand value is 25. The least value is 15 here. That's why I'm going to allocate 15 value to this cell. If 15 value is allocated to this cell, then the supply becomes 0. If the supply becomes 0, then these two cells F1 W2 F1 W3 cells are eliminated. Okay, so see the demand. There are 25 demand where 15 supply is meet. So the remaining is how much? The remaining is 10. Okay, and next move on to the next where so after that you should analyze the demand and the supply value. Here the demand value is 10, the supply value is 25, the least value is the demand. So that's why I'm going to allocate here the demand value, that is 10. If I allocate demand value to here, then it becomes 0. If it is become 0, then there is no necessity of these two cells. Okay, because the 25 demand is already occupied by F1 W1 and F2 W2 cells. Okay, so here in the supply value it is a 25, right, and 10. In among 25 supply, 10 demand is satisfied. The remaining is how much? The remaining is 15. Okay, then move on to the next. So here the demand is 40 here, the supply is 15 here, the least value is here supply. So that's why 15 supply is allocated here. If I allocate 15 supply to this cell, then the total supply becomes 0. Then we should eliminate this cell because 25 supply is already satisfied by F2 W1 cell and F2 W2 cell. Okay, so here in 40 demand, among 40 demand, 15 supply is already satisfied. So the remaining demand is how much? The remaining demand is 25. Okay, so next move on to the next. There are only 4 cells are remaining. Okay, so let's do the allotment. So here for the allotment of F3W2 cell, the demand value is 25 here. The supply value is 30 here. So the least value is demand. That's why I'm going to allocate 25 demand to this cell. If the 25 demand is allocated here, then it becomes 0. Then we should eliminate F4W2 W2 cell, because 40 demand is already occupied by F2W2 cell, F3W2 cell. Okay, so there are and then here if the 25 okay 25 demand is allocated here, the supply is 30. Okay, the supply is 30. So among the 30 supply, 25 demand is satisfied, so the remaining is 5 here. Okay, so next move on to the next. So there is 20, there is a demand is 20 here, and the supply is 5 here. So the least value is here 5, right? So if the 5 supply is allocated to F3W3 cell, then the supply becomes 0. Okay, the 30 supply is already fulfilled by F3W2 F3W3 cell. Okay, so here there is 5 supply, and here 20 demand. Among 20 demand 5 is already satisfied. The remaining is how much? The remaining is 15. Okay, for the last cell, the demand and supply become equal. Okay, so where if the 15 demand is allocated here, it becomes 0. Then if the among the remaining supply is 15, then if the 15 is allocated here, it becomes 0. So at the end of the cell, the demand and supply value is equal. So it is a balanced one. Okay, so these all about the transportation problem. So let us calculate the total transportation cost. So here the allotment is for the first 1 2 3 4 5 6. There are 6 cells are allotted, and so the first is 7 into 15 plus 4 into 10. We should multiply the cost and the allotment value, plus 8 into 15 plus 2 into 25 plus 6 into 5 plus 4 into 15. 7 into 15 equals to 7 into 15 equals to 105. 4 into 10 40. 8 into 15, that is 120, and 2 into 25, that is 50, and 6 into 5, that is 30, and 4 into 15, that is 60. Total the total transportation cost is 405. Okay, so these all about the calculation of total transportation cost by using northwest corner rule method. Thank you.